Let's be brutally honest right now. That's a big question.
I'm looking for someone who doesn't want to go to base camp, but they want to go to the very top.
Whether it's here, India, New York.
Civilization was born at happy hour.
That's what wins. That's what stands out. That's what people are interested in. That's what I want to know. The Hospopreneurs Podcast with James Henderson. Hello and welcome to episode 140 of the Hospopreneurs Podcast. Today, Nic Pestalozzi, co-founder of Sydney salad group Fishbowl, shares the story of his growing brand and two more with Side Room and Fish Shop. 5 years since starting the business, Nic and Nathan have self-funded over 30 venues for Fishbowl alone and been awarded as Australia's fastest growing quick service restaurant. With over 300 staff, Nic has no plans of slowing down with a national expansion already underway. Folks, so that we can keep running the show, Access Collins has sponsored this episode. Their revolutionary booking and inquiry management software for hospitality is designed to help operators increase foot traffic, maximize revenue, and tackle no-shows. And they're doing that. The average user on their platform sees 18% more web bookings, an increase of 25% on inquiry conversion rates, and up to 900 hours saved in admin each year through automation. If that might help you too, check them out at bit.ly/hosposponsor. Hello and welcome to the show, Nic.
Thanks, James. Thanks for having me.
Anytime. Look, Nic, I'm really excited to have you on the program. Very excited to open up your work. And you've grown very quickly after meeting your business partner at university, a couple of mates there. And now, how many venues have you got? Is it 10?
Well, no, we've got 29.
29. Oh my goodness. I think it's been a while since I connected with the PR company that's originally pitched you. I think it might have even been a while ago. And how long has it taken you to grow to 29 businesses?
So we're actually coming up on our 5th birthday this July. So Fishbowl, basically to take you back, Fishbowl started in July 2016. We started with a little 28 square meter store. And then over the last 5 years, we've grown to 29 venues and 3 different concepts. So we've got Side Room, which is our breakfast and lunch health food spot. It's smoothies, coffee and salads. And then we have Fishbowl, which is obviously Japanese inspired salads. And then more recently, we've opened our take on a restaurant. It's more of a casual dining experience and it's called Fish Shop. So that's actually opened in Bondi and that opened about 5 months ago.
Perfect. Well, I'm very excited to hear about how you've grown in such a short space of time to have those 29 venues. But the first question, as you know, that I like to ask on the show is a crazy hospitality story or exceptional hospitality experience. What have you got for the show today, Nic?
I've got a shocking hospitality experience, if you want to hear that.
Sure.
Back when I just finished school, I was 18 and I was hustling for part-time jobs because I wanted to save up and go traveling. So I remember I had applied at a waitering agency for a job and they told me I was going to get the role. So then after probably that day, I think I went into a restaurant. Zero experience in restaurants or waitering. And I told them that I'd been a waiter at this other agency. So they thought, oh, great, you must be good. They gave me a job. I walked out with a tray of red wine and it was a cute little restaurant. And I think I put one red wine down and meanwhile, the other one fell over onto the man's shirt. So that was a disaster, but something I won't forget.
Oh, it happens. I think I have had one other red wine spillage story.
Yeah, it wasn't good. I think I just stayed out the back for the rest of that evening.
Did they get you back on for another evening?
They actually did. Yeah. I stayed there for a while, so I didn't make the same mistake again. But, you know, on the crazier side, I would say our journey in the last 5 years is probably a crazier and a much more positive story because at the time we were completely naive and we really didn't have any experience in what we were doing. We were university students. We wanted to do something for ourselves. We wanted to fill a gap that we thought was missing in our lives. And it was really a product and an offering that we just believed was missing. And it was something that we wanted to enjoy, you know, on our weekdays, on our weekends. It was healthy, it was accessible, it was fun, it was affordable. And we just couldn't really find anything that hit on those points. So that was really how our crazy story began.
We'll get into a little bit about the business in just a minute, but just before I do ask what it is that you're doing, I like to ask guests why they do what you do. So what is it that is really inspiring you to get up every day and do what it is that you do?
What's really inspiring for us is the ability to have a positive impact on the people around us. And the more that we grow and the better that we do each day, we always like to say get better as you grow. So if we continue to do that, we'll have a much greater and bigger impact. Every location that we open, we don't just view it as a number or we're just opening for the sake of opening. Our mission is to change fast food and change the culture. That's what we like to say. And we understand that every area that we open in is giving more people an opportunity to have access to a healthy, affordable product that's also delicious. That was why we started from day one. There were no alternatives, and we felt like fast food was such an outdated, old school industry, and we kind of wanted to just shake it up. So I guess that's the motivator day to day, is building this brand that can have a lasting impact and just give people the opportunity to make healthier choices.
And you said we in your answer there. Is your personal why, your mission different to the people around you? It sounds like that's your united mission and objective for the business, but do you have your own personal why that sits behind that?
I guess at the end of the day, you want to fill your days with purpose, and you don't just want to feel like you're floating through, passing through life, working a random job. So I think having that purpose, which is a product of the brand and being united with a team, having a team and feeling on the same page, working towards the same goal, internally that brings a lot of satisfaction and purpose to, why I get up in the day. It's not just about me. It's about the 300 staff that we're working with. And that's really motivating. We have a team that we need to work for, and we all need to work for each other. And I think if I didn't have that, and we didn't have people looking up to us, maybe it wouldn't be as satisfying, or I wouldn't feel as content with what I'm doing.
Fantastic. And there's a little bit more that I've got on your team later and how it's led to your success in the last 5 years. But what is it that you actually do with Fishbowl and your brands?
So I'm the marketing director. So anything that's brand related, or how we're generating sales or finding new customers or deepening relationships with, whether it's the team, so internal marketing to the external communication, that for the most part falls under myself. We are quite a lean team, and we're in a growth phase now where we're hiring new people and we are growing and developing, just personally, myself as an individual, but also us as a business. So yeah, a large part of my time is spent in the marketing side of the business and really building the brand and starting conversations in our areas. We always like to say we have that store one kind of mentality, and we brought someone on as a marketing manager a few weeks back, and I was just trying to reiterate that point, which is just because we have 29 stores, at the end of the day, we're a food business, and you're really only as good as your one store. So we need to treat every location like it's our only one. And as soon as you start thinking that you're bigger than that is when you start to lose those connections with those individual customers in those areas. And at the end of the day, it's really, in our business, it is the people that are within 500 meters of your store that are the ones that determine your success or not. So for us, that's really important to us, and we can never forget that. And we can always find new ways just to reach new people in the area.
Being in a marketing role there, what is it that you're doing differently to reach those people?
We like to put a lot of our passions and interests into the business. And I think that's why we have managed to build quite a strong brand over the last 5 years. So we never saw what we were doing as just selling salad or selling food. But we always wanted to do more and build a bit more of a culture and a brand around the food. So in most of our locations, we've always done things like events, or we've done a lot of parties and music events. We've got a Fishbowl Run Club. As an example, Fishbowl Run Club is, we basically will pair up with local gyms or local trainers. We'll conduct an event once a month, just as an example, say at Bondi Beach, and basically be a $10, everyone will come along, they'll make a donation. We'll provide complimentary food after the run. And it's just things like that, which are just ways of standing out from the rest and showing that we are more than just a food restaurant trying to sell a product, because we frequently will do things that are they don't actually provide an immediate monetary benefit to us, but long term, they do help us stand out and connect with people in our area, which I guess we hadn't really seen it done before in our industry.
And that health first mentality, I think, really does shake things up. There has been a huge movement in health for quite a long time at the forefront of the food industry and in fast food. To connect that up with a comment that you made there before about shaking the industry up, what is it that you believe needed to change that is, not in your words, but antiquated? What is it that you guys went, oh, look, this is wrong or it can be better that you've done?
We always felt like when it came to health food, there were healthy options out there, but often the healthy offerings were a little bit bland and a little bit boring because they were often targeted at your vegans or they were done by like really progressive health oriented people. Whereas we were quite young, like we were sort of brought up wanting to like just eat well. It's just how we were brought up because we were of that younger generation. Like we were still at university when we kicked things off. So for us, it wasn't so much that we wanted to push this is the healthiest thing in the world. The health was a given. Like we were making the most of the beautiful produce that we had access to, largely a vegetable offering. Like we're predominantly vegetables on the menu. But we really wanted to, above all, make sure the product was actually delicious and exciting. And there was a great brand around that product because we knew that if it was just a healthy offering and if that's all you really had, it would never take off. Because when you look at all the typical fast food brands and businesses that have an impact, like they have so much more than just their core product. They offer so much more, which is what brings people in and makes people come back. So for us, like first and foremost was like flavor. Like it had to be delicious. You had to eat it and be like, that's absolutely amazing. I want to get that again tomorrow. So that was the first thing we were solving for, was like make this product really delicious. Health is a given because at the end of the day, we were making basically bowls of vegetables with protein and a dressing that we make ourselves in-house. So it is really like what you see is what you get. But yeah, I felt like prior to that date when we opened up, it was either the things that you wanted to eat were a little bit too expensive. They were healthy and they were cool, but they were just a little bit out of reach. You know, it wasn't something you could eat that frequently. Or they were like quite healthy, but they missed the mark on flavor and the brand elements. So they didn't really last that long and they didn't really appeal to the masses. They more appealed to like your really health focused people. So I guess that was what we saw as a gap. It was like we wanted to do something that was delicious and healthy and had a great brand to match. And we figured if we could do that, build the brand prior, before preaching or harping on about health, that was the way that we could really have an impact.
Fantastic. And did you and Nathan, either of you come from a hospitality background, or were you, I'm guessing maybe you were working somewhere while you were studying? And
like, not particularly. Nathan's parents did have a catering business. I had obviously worked hospitality jobs throughout university like a lot of people do, but we didn't really come from hospo backgrounds. We more were really interested in business and we had interests in a range of things from sustainability, environmental issues, fashion, music, and also food. And we love Japanese flavors, Japanese cuisine. And that's kind of how it came about. We thought it would be a really like enticing offering, these customized salads that had this Japanese twist. And yeah, I guess that's how sort of the concept came about.
I can imagine that Nathan had some support, or at least to lean on, from his parents there in the catering business. So I can imagine that.
I think there wasn't so much support at the end of the day. Like we had a really tiny store when we started and it was really the three of us kind of in there. But I think support in the sense that growing up, he was around food a lot and naturally food was a big part of his life. Food was a bigger part of his life than it was mine. He loves cooking, very inspired by restaurants and, that side of the industry. So I guess that was support without knowing it was support in that they were big foodies. So he had a great eye for product and quality.
But being able to pick up all those things from not actually having hospo experience is quite an achievement to do. So you guys have ended up becoming, at least the last time that I'd read, Australia's fastest growing QSR. So do you have the top spot there still, or is there someone that fibed you there?
It's hard to say. I'm not sure entirely, but I'll say yes, because I don't know anyone else that's got to 29 venues in 5 years. We've obviously done that self-funded. Like it really steamrolled from our first location, which was quite successful and we had great cash flow, and that allowed us to open our first, second, third location. And then from there, it just kind of snowballed and we found like a growth rate that we could handle and we thought that was manageable. And for us, that's around 8 to 12 stores a year. So we're really growing and we have grown as quickly as our customers have allowed us to grow, which I think has been really beneficial for us. And particularly in hospitality, in the restaurant industry, I think we don't want to get ahead of ourselves and take a whole bunch of money and then use that to open a large number of stores, because the way we've been doing it is quite a healthy rate of growth. And it means we really need to prove each restaurant and prove that they work before we open the next one. We can't just throw down 5 stores because we need the existing ones to be making a profit to open the next one.
How did you navigate that growth and land on that number of 8 to 12 stores a year? Have there been any failures in that process? I can imagine you might have had some that you've really got to pivot or close or...
We haven't had any failures, but at the same time, we've also learned a lot in the last 5 years. Stores that we would have taken, say, 4 years ago, we probably wouldn't take today. But I wouldn't call them a failure. They're just different stores to what we're seeking now. Now we're aware of how valuable time is, and we want a really amazing stores that speak to our brand, that can host a number of people inside. Whereas when we were in the early days, we might see a good deal on a really small location, and that may have been something that we took. They're still great stores, just longer term. It's not what we're looking for, moving forward, because we just want those sort of A+ sites that are really going to give us a better return for our money, if you know what I mean.
How did you find that rate of growth? How did you come to that?
For us, it was quite organic. We're comfortable opening a store a month. That gives us enough time to manage that store and to manage that growth and to ensure that we have the right team in place and set up for that opening. We've got a good grasp on our team. We know where we're at, and we understand who we can hire and how much time we need to do that, and what it takes to train, a team for a new location. And opening a store a month is quite manageable for us. It gives you a good amount of time to promote, to train, to lead up to that opening, and then also to carry on after it's opened and ensure that the right systems and things are in place to ensure it's a success. I think we've had periods where we don't open a store for a few months and then we end up opening 4 in a really short period of time, in the same month. And it is always a little bit more stressful. It's a little bit harder to manage. So we're just aware that a store a month is a really healthy growth rate for us. It's a really manageable growth rate. And for where we're at this stage of the business, that's what we're looking to do moving forward for the next couple of years.
So for listeners that aren't in the industry or aren't in retail, the retail end of hospitality, what are some of those things that you're looking at as those 1%ers that are really adding a lot of value throughout those openings?
Obviously, the team that we have in place is crucial to our success. So do we have the right opening team that are good representatives of the brand and what we're trying to do? And also, are they the right people to train the new team? So who's the new manager that's going to be in place? Who are their supervisors? Who are the casual workers? And just getting everyone aligned on, the same page, the same mission, so that anyone that comes through the door can have a great experience, whether they come in the first week or they come in the second month. That's probably one of the most crucial elements to what we do and how successful a store opening is or isn't. So I think it really comes down to the team.
On your team as well, you've mentioned this to me before with regards to your team and the culture that you've created there. What is it that you do that really does inspire them and get them behind that mission that you've created for the business? I
think we just have really open communication with all of our staff, and we try and keep everyone on the same page and aligned on the same mission. So whether you're in the office or you've been working there for a week, everyone receives the same, essentially like a guideline as to who we are, what we are. But then it's more frequent than that too. It's WhatsApp communication. We have a culture fund is what we like to call it. So every team is allocated, they've got their own little fund, and they can utilize that on a quarterly basis to take their team out, do fun things with the team, whether they're new, old staff. It's just about having everyone together and making everyone feel welcome as part of the family that we've really become. It does feel a bit more like a family than it does a workplace. And I just think that's really important to the customer experience when they walk into the store, because if the team isn't happy and enjoying where they're at, a customer will feel that when they enter a store. So taking care of our staff is, one of our top priorities. What are you looking for when you're bringing staff on then? So if you want them to fit in with that culture that you have and the mission that you've created, what is it that you're looking for in those initial managers to lead the team and the staff that they bring on? We want good team leaders that are going to be respected by the people around them. So it's less about people that are, in hospitality, you might have high performers and achievers, people that can hit their targets and they'll do anything to reach their numbers. But I think the best managers and area managers that we've seen are the ones that are really personable and really good at motivating and inspiring their team to just be better They look out for others before they look out for themselves, and they're just enjoyable to be around. There's nothing worse than going into a venue when you can just sense that there either is no team leader or the team leader has, that negative kind of energy that it leaves a bad tone in the venue. So I think, like with any team, like with a captain of a football team, they need to be able to motivate and inspire the team to be better. It's not necessarily about having that star employee or that star player. It's about having like the personable guy that's respected and can motivate those around him. So that's what we look for. We just want good individuals that try really hard, that are motivated to get better and are driven by the right principles and they've got the right intentions.
How do you vet for that before you've seen them perform in the venue and look after their staff? Obviously, if you've got one a month, then you're constantly looking for new managers. So are you bringing them on from other stores or are you hiring internally? Or
often we hire internally. So we've got such a large pool of staff now that ideally all of our managers will come internally, and that will be someone that they're doing a really great job in one of the stores. They've started as a mixer and they've worked their way up to a supervisor, and we've acknowledged that they have, really great potential to lead a team. And then in that case, we'll approach them and see if it's of interest to them, and we'll line it up like that. So we often try and line up future leaders from within the company, because you're exactly right. It's really quite difficult to do it when you don't know anything about them. It is a lot more of a gamble. So we don't really tend to go through recruiting agencies or anything like that. We try and hire from within and bring people up that have been with us for a while.
what is it that you're learning about or exploring at the moment? So this could be something personally, professionally. Where are you pushing forward or innovating?
One of the challenges of growing at the rate that we're growing at, and one of the things that we want to uphold, is we want to keep that special, intimate feeling that we had when we had 1, 2, 3 stores. But we want to keep that for every store that we have. So at 29 stores now, it's how do we keep that feeling and that experience that we had from the start from a cultural standpoint? How do we scale that? And how do we carry that across and throughout all of our team? Because I think it's typical of, say, hospitality, that you think typically as things get bigger and they scale, they get worse and the product gets worse, the experience gets worse. So what we're striving for, and what I think is, one of the challenges of what we're doing, is like, how do we counter that and actually prove that we can get better as we grow? We believe we're doing a good job at that. At the moment, that's one thing that I'm thinking about a lot, and it's something that we're trying to tackle. Coming out of COVID, we lost a lot of staff and we've got a lot of new employees now. So getting that cultural set of values across to the team so that the experience for the customer is as it's intended to be is the challenge, and that's what we're trying to strive for. It's something that people don't expect when a food business scales. So that's something that I think has helped our success to date, is that people still feel that we have 1, 2, 3 stores. Like regularly we'll meet someone and they say, oh, do you guys have 1 store? Or today, for example, you went entirely across how many stores there were. And I actually don't see that as a bad thing. I see that as a really positive thing, because if people still think of us as this small, cool little restaurant, but in reality we are scaling and we have scaled, I think that's a really positive sign, because it's not something you would expect from a fast food business. Typically fast food businesses, they don't get better as they grow. The product gets diluted, the experience gets diluted, and they lose a lot of what made them special years ago when they had that one venue. So that's what we're striving for, is to keep that Fishbowl experience and that innovative and new fast food experience intimate and special as we grow.
How are you ensuring that that's the case, and how are you learning tools to make sure that you do that?
We always hold each other really accountable, and we spend a lot of time and attention on all the finer details of what we're doing. So whether it's hiring new people for the operations team so that we can improve the training side of the business, or the waste management side of the business, that's something we've been working on a lot lately. We've got someone in HR now, so we're focusing a lot more on that hiring process, like who are we hiring and why are we hiring them, and what's the procedure for teaching them the ropes when it comes to marketing and holding that store one mentality. I can't be across every store like maybe we used to be able to. So bringing in a team to cover the blind spots and ensure that we are treating every single venue like we did when we only have 5. I think it just comes down to setting up the structure and the systems to do the things that I was doing or my partners were doing a few years ago, putting people in place now so that they're still being done, but we can just do more, because I think you can grow and then you feel like you can still do everything. But the reality is you physically can't be everywhere and you can't do everything. So you need to scale I need to scale what I'm doing, and everyone else in the business needs to scale what they're doing if we're to grow successfully.
With that growth and the people that you may have looked to initially, I'm interested to know if there are some businesses out there that you've been modeling your growth on, and maybe there might have been some case studies back when you studied, or have things developed there? Are there businesses out there that you're looking to model your growth on?
Yeah, so I think when it comes to businesses or brands that we look at or take cues from, yes, there are like the literal food brands, whether it's like a GYG for their systems, and clearly they have that side of the business really down pat. Almost seems like they're just a machine, which is something that we can definitely take certain cues from. Other brands like a Sweetgreen in the States, which has managed to really scale and build a bit of a brand around salads, which didn't previously exist, and they seem to share a lot of the same values that we have at Fishbowl. A lot of our cues, and it's been like this really from the start, they haven't actually come from food operators. It's more people that have managed to build your lifestyle brands or fashion brands, because I just feel like they're on another level in terms of creativity and the sort of following that they garner. It really doesn't even compare to food and hospitality. Like when you look at, say, Comme des Garçons is a clothing label. We've often taken cues from them. We really admire like the creativity, and the like, it's almost more like they pump out art. The concept and the creativity comes above the core product. Or you can look at a brand like Patagonia, or as cliche as it sounds, like a Nike. It's all these brands that stand for a lot more than their core product. They're not just pushing a pair of sneakers. They're pushing emotion and a feeling. And it makes you want to feel that. Like you want to feel that. You want to be a part of that. You align with where that brand is going. So I think for us, growing up, it was always those kind of brands that we found inspiring. It was the ones that stood for more and pushed more than just what they were trying to sell. And in fact, they often didn't push that at all. I think that's been a big inspiration for us when it comes to trying to build our brand. Like, we're not just trying to push a bowl of vegetables. We're trying to inspire people in ways that we think can achieve that. Basically, like taking cues from those brands that aren't in the same industry as us. They're in fashion, they're in clothing, but they really just stand for more than their core product.
Fantastic. Ultimately, then, what does success look like for you, Nic?
Yeah, so I guess success for us is continuing to get better as we grow, lift the veil of everything we're doing. So we want to be as transparent as possible and as sustainable a business as we can possibly be. So I guess that all falls under our sort of ethos of getting better as we grow, which is different for fast food, and building a stronger and stronger team and making the product better and better. We have aspirations to expand to overseas. We want to look, to open in the States, most likely. That was something that we were interested to do pre-COVID. And then that obviously threw a bit of a spanner in a lot of the plans, but it is something that we, will look to visit in the next couple of years. And ultimately, if we can build a really strong and successful business here in Australia, throughout Brisbane, Melbourne and Sydney, we'll then be in a position to entertain the expansion plans overseas. And I think if we could share what we're doing with as many people as possible around the world, that would be success for us. That would be the best possible way for us to have a real impact and make the most of what we think is, a concept that's worth sharing.
Fantastic. Look, Nic, thank you so much. I just have one last question for you today, and that's, who would you like to hear on the show?
Who would I like to hear on the show? You know what? I plugged them before, so maybe get Stephen Marks on from GYG.
Okay.
He's a character. You got to get him on. He's got a lot to say, and he's extremely experienced, and they're doing really exciting things.
Awesome. Love to. Look, Nic, thank you so much for joining me on the program. It's been a pleasure having you on, hearing about your growth over the last 5 years and very exciting plans for the future. So thank you again, and I'm looking forward to staying in touch.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
This program is hosted by James Henderson, with technical production by Jake Olver. Voiceovers were by Angus Brennan and Shim Phelan. Thanks to our distribution team, and a special thanks to you for tuning in every week. This program was produced by H Media. We'll see you soon.